What does a promise mean when it's made in the heat of a furious public breakdown? Is it just the ranting of a man losing his grip? Or is it a desperate prophetic warning that everyone chose to ignore? 4 years ago, Kanye West stood against the entire world and swore a vow on his life to protect his daughter. He promised that his little girl would never be subjected to the same machine that built his wife's empire. But today, that exact nightmare is unfolding on the streets of Rome for millions to see, and it's forcing everyone to ask one terrifying question: was Kanye West right all along? The scene was straight out of a Kardashian playbook. Kim Kardashian and her 12-year-old daughter, Northwest, arrived for a dinner in Italy. But this wasn't a quiet family meal. It was a paparazzi spectacle. Cameras flashed non-stop, and at the center of it all was a child dressed not like a kid, but like a high-fashion adult. North wore a black corset-style top, long blue braids, and massive platform boots. The look was bold, artistic, and, to many, deeply unsettling. She's 12. The internet immediately erupted, not in awe, but in concern. Comments flooded in. Why is a 12-year-old wearing a bustier? And let her be a kid. The line between childhood and adulthood had not just been blurred, it had been completely erased. But to understand why this moment is so explosive, you have to go back to the source of the conflict. You have to go back to the vow. During his infamous Twitter eruptions in 2020, a visibly anguished Kanye West made a declaration that would echo for years. He tweeted, "I put my life on God that North's mom would never photograph her doing Playboy." He didn't just say he didn't want it, he staked his very life on it. This wasn't a casual opinion. It was a line drawn in the sand, a desperate father's attempt to shield his child from what he saw as a toxic family pattern of exploitation. He saw the future with terrifying clarity, and he was begging anyone who would listen to stop it. Kanye's fury wasn't aimed only at Kim, it was laser-focused on the mastermind behind the entire operation, Kris Jenner. He accused her directly of being the architect, the puppet master who pushed her daughters into uncomfortable, sexualized situations for fame and profit. He saw her not as a loving grandmother, but as a ruthless CEO who viewed her own family as products. In his mind, Kris was the one who turned Kim into a brand, and he was terrified she would do the exact same thing to his little girl. He wasn't just fighting a trend, he was fighting a legacy that he believed was about to consume his daughter. Now, years later, that fear has materialized. The Rome photo shoot might not be for Playboy, but the principle is identical. It's a child, dressed in a provocative, adult-coded outfit, placed squarely in the spotlight for media consumption and public discussion. It's the exact type of imagery Kai swore to protect North from. The paparazzi didn't just happen to be there, they were there because a Kardashian was there. And in that world, a child's dinner is not a private moment. It's a content opportunity. This was the first major test of Kanye's vow, and from where the world is standing, it looks like it was broken before it even began. So, where did this deep-seated fear truly begin? To understand Kanye's desperation, you have to look at the original sin, the moment the Kardashian playbook was written. It wasn't with North or even with Kylie. It started with Kim herself, and in a shocking twist of irony, Kim has openly admitted to it. Years ago, she confessed that she never actually wanted to pose for Playboy. She was nervous, hesitant, and uncomfortable with the idea. But her mother, Kris Jenner, saw it not as a personal boundary, but as a business opportunity. The story Kim tells is chilling in its calculation. Their reality show hadn't even aired yet. They were nobodies, and in that moment of vulnerability, Kris Jenner made her move. Her now infamous sales pitch was less about empowerment and more about exploitation. She told a hesitant Kim, "Go for it. They might never ask you again. No one knows who you are." She sold it as a now or never chance, preying on the fear of missing out. She even added, "You'll have these beautiful pictures to look at when you're my age." Reducing a deeply personal decision to a nostalgic photo album, Kim, under pressure, gave in. The photos were taken, the magazine hit stands, and the Kardashian brand was born in a flash of controversy and buzz. But that decision left a permanent scar. Kim would later admit that posing for Playboy was one of her biggest regrets, a choice that haunted her image for years. For Kanye, this story wasn't just a piece of trivia, it was the smoking gun. It was concrete proof that Kris Jenner was willing to overrule her own daughter's comfort for a headline. It revealed a family business model built on crossing lines. So when he looked at his young daughter, North, he didn't just see a little girl. He saw the next potential target on Kris Jenner's board. He saw a repeat of history waiting to happen. His vow wasn't based on paranoia, it was based on a documented pattern of behavior. This is the crucial context that makes the Rome incident so much more than a simple fashion debate. North's corset top and paparazzi swarm aren't happening in a vacuum. They are happening against the backdrop of this very specific, very dark family history. Fans watching this unfold aren't just seeing a child dressed in adult clothing, they are seeing the ghost of Kim's Playboy shoot. They are seeing the same playbook being opened to a new chapter. The parallels are already being drawn to a young Kylie Jenner, who was also styled and presented as far older than she was, pushed into a world of makeup and cosmetic procedures before she was even legally allowed to drive. The fear is that North's dinner in Rome wasn't an isolated event, it was a test, a soft launch, a way to gauge public reaction to North West, the brand. And the truly terrifying part, it worked. It got everyone talking. It generated countless headlines and millions of impressions. In the Kardashian world, that isn't a failure. That's a successful business day. But for a 12-year-old girl, it's the beginning of a childhood offered up for public consumption. And for Kanye West, it's the exact scenario he promised on his life would never ever happen. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, Kanye West's own hypocrisy. Because to truly understand this drama, you have to wrestle with the glaring contradictions of the man sounding the alarm. Critics are quick to point out that Kanye hasn't always been a bastion of protection. In fact, he was once the chief architect of Kim Kardashian's most sexualized, internet-breaking image. Remember the iconic wet-looking Mugler dress? The one that looked painted on? That was his vision. He styled Kim to be the ultimate fantasy, the woman every camera craved. He encouraged the break the internet mentality that he now claims to despise. This history makes his current outrage seem convenient, maybe even controlling. The narrative flips completely in 2019 when, at the Met Gala, he suddenly told Kim he was no longer comfortable with her wearing sexy outfits in front of other men. It was a stunning about-face from the man who helped build that very image, and now the hypocrisy deepens with his new wife, Bianca Censori. She is routinely paraded in outfits that are far more revealing and controversial than anything North wore in Rome, often styled by Kanye himself. The irony is so thick you could cut it with a knife. So, is his crusade really about protection, or is it about control? But here's the twist. Even if Kanye is the biggest hypocrite on the planet, it doesn't automatically make him wrong about North. These two things can exist at the same time. A flawed, contradictory person can still identify a real problem. His past actions don't erase the concerning pattern he's pointing out. In fact, his intimate knowledge of the Kardashian-Jenner machine might be the very thing that makes his warnings so credible. He isn't an outsider guessing, he's an insider who helped build the engine and now wants to pull his daughter from its path. He saw how the sausage was made, and it horrified him. This is where the court of public opinion gets split right down the middle. One side sees a controlling ex-husband trying to dictate his ex-wife's parenting while doing the exact same thing he condemns. The other side sees a flawed but desperate father who, despite his own messy history, is the only one powerful enough to stand up to the Kardashian empire and say, "Not my daughter." They argue that his hypocrisy is irrelevant when the well-being of a child is at stake. The question isn't whether Kanye is a good guy. The question is whether the thing he is fighting against is real. And based on the Playboy blueprint and the Rome paparazzi photos, the evidence is mounting that it is. The tragedy is that North has become the ultimate pawn in this toxic game. Her outfits, her dinners, her very childhood have become ammunition in a bitter war between her parents. Kim's side seems to showcase North as a rising, fashionable icon, continuing the family brand. Kanye's side uses these same moments as proof of exploitation. Both parents swear they are acting in her best interest, but their actions are pulling her in two completely opposite directions, and the battle is playing out on the world stage for everyone to watch, judge, and consume. The only thing they agree on is that the other one is doing everything wrong. In the end, this isn't really about Kanye or Kim. This isn't about who is a bigger hypocrite or who has more control. This is about a 12-year-old girl who didn't choose any of this. North West is growing up in a world where her private moments are public headlines, where her outfits are debated by millions, and where her own childhood is treated as content for a brand she never asked to be part of. The real curse isn't a mystical force, it's the crushing weight of a spotlight that was turned on her before she could even understand what it meant. The Rome incident is a symptom of a much larger disease. It's the disease of fame for fame's sake, where the lines between parenting and branding have become so blurred, they've disappeared entirely. Whether you believe Kim is consciously exploiting her daughter or simply repeating the only parenting model she knows, the outcome is the same. A child is being robbed of her anonymity. She can't just be a kid experimenting with fashion. Every choice is analyzed, criticized, and monetized. The world is watching, waiting to see if she becomes the next Kardashian superstar or the first one to break the cycle. And what about Kanye's vow? In the court of public opinion, the verdict is still out. Some look at North in that corset and see a broken promise. Others see a mother allowing her daughter creative expression. But the undeniable truth is this: the exact scenario Key feared his daughter being photographed in a sexualized context for public consumption is now happening. Maybe it's not Playboy, but the spirit of the exploit is identical. It's the reduction of a child to an image for public consumption and debate. So, where does this leave North? She is trapped in the middle of Hollywood's messiest, most public custody battle. Her life is a tug-of-war between two colossal opposing forces, one that wants to launch her into the family business, and another that wants to hide her from it. Both claim to love her. Both claim to protect her. But the constant fighting, the public sniping, and the relentless scrutiny are themselves a form of trauma. The greatest protection she could have is a private life, and that is the one thing neither of her parents seems able to give her. The final, heartbreaking irony is that the only thing everyone can agree on is that North deserves better. She deserves a chance to be a kid, to make mistakes without them being tabloid fodder, to figure out who she is without the whole world watching and weighing in. The conversation needs to stop being about whether Kanye or Kim is right. It needs to be about how to give a 12-year-old girl her childhood back. Because right now, she's not just North West, she's a symbol. And symbols don't get to have a childhood. If this look into the dark side of fame left you stunned, you need to subscribe to Hot Sip, where the tea is always fresh. We serve the hottest celebrity secrets daily, and you won't want to miss what we're spilling next.